episode of AFTERSHOCKS on AFTERSHOCKspodcast.com. And joining us today on the podcast, we're talking to Mr. David Kaiser from Blood Blast Distribution, the first worldwide digital distributor for extreme music. Dave, thanks so much for coming on. How you doing today?
Hey, I'm great. Thanks for having me on your podcast, man. It's a pleasure.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for coming. So first off, I mean, congrats on the launch of Blood Blast that opened its doors earlier this year. Many metal artists and labels, obviously real excited to have a genre specialized digital distributor like Blood Blast. And I think that to be honest with you, I think it's kind of long overdue, it's great that you guys are the first one to do it for extreme music, with, rock and metal. First off, so why don't you just go ahead, tell the listeners a bit about yourself in terms of your career in the music business, and how did the idea for Blood Blast come to fruition and wind up becoming the first global digital distributor for extreme rock and metal?
Sure, man. So I started in the music business as a working student in Hamburg, working for a PR agency and for a management company, and later on also worked briefly for the rock department of Warner Music as an intern. And after my studies, I became self-employed, worked closely with a PR agency in Hamburg, and did PR for releases like Mastodon, Motionless in White, stuff like all the stuff from smaller releases like independent labels from SWAT Records, for example, as well. And then one day that job description came up online that Believe was searching for an artist relationship manager for metal, hard rock, and punk. And I decided, why not give it a shot? At that time, I didn't know there was something brewing like Blood Blast Distribution. It just was like, hey, digital distribution, searching for an artist relationship manager for the heavy genre of music was totally exciting for me at that time because, like you said, long overdue to have more dedication on digital in our heavy side of music. Mm-hmm. And then the whole idea of Blood Blast Distribution was brought up, and I was totally in 1,000%. And like you said, it came from being long overdue. Also, metal is the most growing genre of music in streaming platforms because everyone is now slightly getting there, using their Amazon Prime, for example, for streaming now, or having their Alexas at home streaming music, using Spotify more and more. The freemium users are turning into premium users, and so we wanted to be there right from the start.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great thing you guys are doing. And I know one of the great things about Blood Blast, from what I read, is that the bands will receive support from the Nuclear Blast A&R team. And obviously people know, Nuclear Blast is pretty much the biggest metal label on the globe. And even here in the U.S., I know, obviously they have one of the best A&R reps, Monty Connor, who obviously is one of the all-time best in metal. And of course, there's just so many great A&R reps in Nuclear Blast in general. I mean, so since record labels, they no longer really have or promote artist development like they used to. I mean, gone are the days where a band gets a 3-album deal to grow and develop as artists. Is Blood Blast also a way for Nuclear Blast to sort of recruit and nurture up-and-coming musicians and bands without having to really invest much, capital into them? Is this sort of like the new way a label like Nuclear Blast can pretty much develop, artists without having to wait a few records to see if a band really can reach its potential or not?
It goes both sides, man. The thing is, of course, like since working closely with the whole Nuclear Blast team, like the bands we put in our distribution roster have that advantage of getting feedback, and also like feedback from Monty Connor or something like that, which is, you can't like put a price tag on that basically, which is
no, you can't. I know.
So
totally.
And of course, if there's a band that's really putting in the work, because nowadays a band has to take even more responsibilities than they used to. It's not enough to put on a great show anymore and like be a great live band. You need to be out there on the digital platforms, on the socials, and show that you're dedicated to work. And of course, in the best case scenario, a band starts out at Blood Blast Distribution. We discussed the band with the A&R team at Nuclear Blast, and they get offered a deal, like an upsale deal. But on the other hand, of course, if a band wants to stay completely independent, we can do that any day. So
okay, sure. is I think too, one of the best attributes to having a genre, specialized digital distribution is that it allows traditional independent record labels to sort of focus their resources and energy on the physical product, and it eliminates sort of the headaches and challenges of having to market to the digital audience. So currently I know Blood Blast has a partnership. I know just firsthand, obviously with how we got connected through Mario at Upstate Records out of New York. So in terms of working with record labels, are there specific, for bands that you will distribute from a given label, or do you work with every release that the label puts out? How does that work with labels?
We work. Of course, we're giving the advice on the release schedules in terms of looking from the digital perspective, like on every release. And like you said, giving more power to the label to focus on the physical side of things. And we try to work every release. Like if there's of course a release plan that can't be changed, if we say we maybe should do this differently on digital, then that happens sometimes. But we work it like we would work with the artist directly.
Okay.
So
okay.
And we also have cases with, like, for example, Nexion, an Icelandic black metal band, who's also signed to an Italian label, and they decided to give the digital to the band so someone else could focus 100% on that, so they can do even better job on the physical side of things, and they do a great job. So
sure,
that's the best case scenario, in my opinion, for up and coming band or for a new band, to have a really dedicated independent label that's taking care of the physical and of the physical product that we all love, and take the responsibility in their own hands on the digital side of things. Because in the end, the band always has to do the stuff on their own, on all the channels, get the direct connection to the fans and everything. It just helps them immensely.
Sure. Yeah, no, definitely. Here in the U.S., David, I mean, I just read the other day that, 85, I think it's about 85% of music played today, it's through streaming. So, I mean, obviously, I still personally collect vinyl, but I do stream a lot more so than I used to. However, I hear a lot of artists that still claim that CDs still sell. But to me, I haven't seen that just personally. But, from what I'm seeing, most independent labels, they're starting to sign artists to deals that include streaming and releasing of limited edition vinyl, since vinyl seems to be obviously selling better than any other form of a physical music product. Let me just tap into your, expertise and get your opinion on what you're seeing right now in terms of buyer behavior and physical products, on a global scale. I mean, do you think physical musical products, do you think they will at any time maybe cease to exist in the future, or will there always be, you think, a significant number of fans who prefer vinyl or CD over streaming?
For our heavy genre, there will still be a dedicated fan base who's buying vinyl, and as long as artists and labels offer a great product, then it will be bought. But it's not more like you buy a CD to have the music. It's more like you buy an additional merchandise item that's having the music on it. That's why we see such a growth in vinyl, and it's staying that on a steady growth and on a steady number, because fans sometimes even buy vinyl even if they don't have a record player, because they just want to have that colored vinyl, that gatefold, the lyric sheet and everything. So and I was just chatting with a friend of mine the other day who's selling cars actually, and then we realized there's maybe something also like a connection between streaming increase and cars not having CD players anymore as well. So
sure, yes,
because you connect with your mobile phone and stream on Spotify in the car and everything, Bluetooth, USB connection everywhere. So there was all of the time I was like, yeah, sure, like my car doesn't have a CD player either. Or if I rent a car, there's no CD player in there 99% of the times. So yeah.
No, I mean, and you're totally right, because I mean, just speaking for myself personally, I used to still buy CDs up until a few years ago when I bought a new car, and it didn't have a CD player. And it's really since then where I've really, I've gone more head on with streaming. than I previously did, because it's just like I said. I mean, even computers these days, they're not putting, you can't play CDs in them, the brand new Macs or whatever. So, yeah. So I mean, obviously, yeah, it's sort of getting phased out, maybe unintentionally, but it just strikes me as kind of interesting because, yeah, I don't know where people will play CDs unless they have their, still have their device at home that they use for it, which most people don't.
Yeah.
tend
Maybe
to go
on their
to,
Xbox or on their PlayStation for.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Totally.
But yeah.
Yeah.
I think it would stay as a merch item. I think the first item to go will be the jewel case CD.
Okay.
And then you will still have like limited digipacks, maybe, but heavy on vinyl, and people would stream.
Okay. Yeah. So it's
More
coming
and
down
more.
to pretty much vinyl and streaming right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's what I figured. So, I know with Blood Blast, I know the creation of it became between Nuclear Blast and Believe Digital. And I know Believe Digital, they also own they own a majority stake in Nuclear Blast, and they also own one, I believe, a large portion of one of the top independent labels in France as well. Do you think we're seeing a new pattern in terms of having these bigger independent labels now merging with the digital distributors like Believe? And do you think we're going to see more like genre specialized distributors like Blood Blast in the future? You think that's where we're going?
In terms of what's good for our heavy music, I hope something like that will happen. Like not wishing for it to happen,
Sure.
but I hope that digital distributors get more and more involved with the heavy metal scene and like the labels, and put some more work and dedication into that, like Believe is doing now with Nuclear Blast, and also founding the Blood Blast distribution setup. But yeah, that's definitely to happen in the future in some way or another, because heavy metal labels see that there is a demand in streaming and that some work needs to be put in there.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you. Do you so what does it take now for an artist or a band to get on Blood Blast? I mean, is there a requirement or criteria that a band needs to meet in order to be considered for distribution from Blood Blast?
It sounds cheesy, but at first they got to have a certain level of dedication, and the music has to be good. But we can take much higher risks than a classic label, for example, in signing an artist to our distribution service, because we don't have to fear to have physical stock laying around in a warehouse and collecting dust, basically.
Sure, yeah.
So if we sign an artist, or an artist sends a submission on our website, bloodblast.com, we listen to the music, we check out their socials, we check out how active they are.
Okay.
But even if they haven't released anything on streaming yet, and if there's a great record coming out, that's not a deal breaker at all. So
okay,
then we were dedicated to work with them, regardless, if they are as well.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's really cool. Okay, awesome. Yeah. Well, as I was mentioned before, Nuclear Blast really, I mean, like I said, it's the leading force on the globe for metal. There's other, of course, great labels out there, but I think none really have the kind of vision and awareness that Nuclear Blast does, especially when it comes to niche and genre specialized decisions, as we were talking about. So, for example, I know like with Sharp Tone, those bands and their audience on Sharp Tone, they have, obviously, there's so many difference between that audience compared to your average, I think, Nuclear Blast consumer, in terms of not just the demographics, but in terms of buyer behavior and the overall, I guess, marketing strategies that are used to promote their music. Just very different targets because of the age and a lot of different factors, obviously. But how does it work with Blood Blast in terms of how you go about making genre or subgenre based decisions within the marketing strategy? Like, for example, is like Blood Blast, are you guys more focused on working with younger bands than, say, like seasoned veteran ones, or are there specific demographics or characteristics that you'll pretty much automatically rule out when you decide to work with a band or not? Is it just sort of, how does that go?
Not at all. Like I said, if I have a veteran band, for example, I would count Troops of Doom as a veteran band in there. But if I see a band like that putting so much dedication and work in there into their socials and how they communicate with their fans online and see that they have to do something, then we won't rule that out at all.
Okay.
Especially since we don't want to just flood the digital distribution services with more and more modern metal. There is a lot of great modern metal and modern music, but still we want to have the black metal there. We want to have the drone. We want to have the doom, the stoner. Like we want to push the diversity of our heavy music onto the streaming service, like that it's not only gent and the modern metal kind of thing that's like resonating with the younger audience better, of course. But I think you have to deliver something to the platforms in order to get the audience there. So
no,
that's where we're coming from.
Sure. Yeah. What I mean, what are you seeing right now in terms of bands that are looking to Blood Blast for distribution? Are you seeing, is it more of the younger bands, more of that type of music, or do you see a lot of veteran artists that want to kind of get involved with you guys as well?
It's a good mix, of course. Like there's a higher percentage of younger artists that are still making like the old school kind of metal still as well. But just from being a digital distribution and being out there on all the social media platforms, there's a much higher rate of young bands submitting their music to us. They are online all the time, like the veteran bands and older bands. We get the connection through the classic way. Either a management company reaches out to us, or the A&R guys from Nuclear Blast are connecting us with the bands or the managements that are interested in the whole thing because they read something about it online. So that's the way we get approached normally.
Okay, that sounds great. Awesome. And just, I got one last really question for you. I mean, Nuclear Blast obviously wouldn't be what it is without its founder, Marcus Steger. Tell us a bit about your experiences, working alongside him, and what are some of the things that you've kind of learned along the way since being, involved with Nuclear Blast under his tutelage as well?
Since I just joined the company last year in November, I didn't have the pleasure to work with Marcus Steiger and getting the experience, like the knowledge from him. So I can really tell something about that. So I'm sorry about that.
Oh, no, it's okay. I just, I mean, he's obviously just such a pivotal, force in what he's done with Nuclear Blast. And I just think it's, like I said, he's got the vision that, I mean, that I think, that's needed, obviously, for hard rock and metal, I think, going forward. No, it's great. So I guess, David, thanks so much for coming on and, talking to me about this. How can bands and artists look into becoming a part of Blood Blast? I mean, where could we, just to the listeners, where could we tell everyone they can go to find out more information about getting on Blood Blast?
Sure. Like for once, there are socials. You find us on Instagram and on Facebook, obviously. We're currently building up our YouTube channel as well. To submit your music, just go to bloodblast.com. Then you will find on the right top of the screen, you will find the submission button. Click there, and then you can choose between two forms, one for US-based bands and one for European-based bands. Send us as much information as you can. Leave nothing unfilled if you can. And we will check out your submission and then get back to you as soon as we can. Like we receive a lot right now, so it might take a few days. But we try, even if it's taking a little bit longer, we try to reach out to everyone. Because even if Blood Blast might not be the right fit, we might find another way to help you somehow and keep an eye on you.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, that's great, David. Well, I mean, like I said, I think what you guys are doing is great, and I look forward to seeing more bands and labels working through Blood Blast. And thanks again for coming on. I really appreciate it. And thanks, it was great talking to you.
Thanks for the invite, man. It was really a pleasure.
Of course. Yeah. Thanks so much, David. Thanks for listening to Aftershocks. For more episodes, go to our website at www.aftershockspodcast.com. Visit us on our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages for more news and information on the podcast. And be sure to subscribe, listen to, and review all episodes on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all other podcast platforms. For your music listening pleasure, visit our website or go to www.shockwavesradio.com for all comments and questions. Please email us at info@aftershockspodcast.com.